I mean, welcome back, Nick. This got a Doctor Who review, episode number 34. This reviewing the opening story from the 10th ever season of Doctor Who, released in late 1972 and concluded in 1973. Well, this one, anyways. It's the 10th anniversary of Doctor Who. We have the Three Doctors, which brought back William Hartnell, who reprised his role as the original Doctor, and Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor. Fun fact about this story: this is actually the first of 3 returns for Patrick Troughton before he passed away. William Hartnell, this was his one and only return he did Doctor Who, because not long after this was released, he passed away. And originally he was going to be in a lot more of the story, from what I heard, but due to his declining health, because also this had been about 6 years since he left the show, and his health had gotten worse since then. And apparently when he was approached to do Doctor Who, to do this one story, he was actually, what I heard, he was actually pretty happy to do it. But then his daughter called, and she was still like, so I hear he's doing more Doctor Who. You do realize, though, his health is not good. So they basically reduced him to simply a guy in a cube. And apparently he ran out. He basically read all of his lines off cue cards. Yep, cue cards. It's because of his health. I think, as far as I can tell, there was actually one actor who did this for a movie, and that was the late Marlon Brando, who actually, for the original Godfather, who refused to read a script, basically, so he just read off cue cards. The whole movie. Yes, seriously, that's what the late Marlon Brando did. And, well, Marlon Brando did because he was kind of lazy when it comes to that. But in the case of William Hartnell, there actually was a reason for it. Oh, here's something for you. Guess how many people actually are alive who actually were in this story? Like, 2 people. Well, Benton, who appears in the story. Surprisingly, Mike Yates does not appear in the story. Yeah, there's no explanation exactly where he is in the story. The Brigadier's here, which is good. And this is... It definitely feels like, even though it's 10th anniversary Doctor Who, it definitely does feel like it's part of the Third Doctor stuff. Now, from what I've heard... This is debris, basically, the very last info, that John Pertwee was very happy to bring back the other 2 Doctors. He was very open to this, but he said no to bringing back their companions for the story. Yes, it was his decision. Well, in the case of the actor who played Jamie, from what I heard, he was on a soap opera at this point. Yep, he was. Though he did finally make a return to Doctor Who in the 5 Doctors, which came out 10 years after this one. So the story starts out on Earth, because basically this is during a period of time when Doctor Who was strictly have Doctor on Earth for the first few seasons of the show. This actually is the start of his 4th and final season, his 4th and also second to last ever season he did for the show, because he did one more season after this, and then he's gone. Yep, he's gone. Now, he's actually a game warden, well, hunting warden. He stumbled across a device that was basically put together by a man by the name of Dr. Tyler. Yep. Yep. Now, you might be thinking, is the actor who plays Tyler, is he still alive? Rex Robertson. Nope. He passed away about 8 years ago. Yeah, he's no longer alive. And apparently the guy appeared also for 2 other stories after this one. Yes, he appeared in Monster Paladin and Hand of Fear. I have not reviewed those. I've seen those 2. I haven't reviewed them yet. Now, his last film appearance was actually in Super 4 Recipes as a sub-engineer. Yep. So, there's also... This story here had a debut of a character who appeared 2 more times after this. One in the actual series for this series, and his 3rd and last appearance to date was in an audio drama. Yep, an audio drama, believe it or not. And you're thinking, really? Well, yes. He does some novels per se, but yeah, he actually Mm. Yeah, he actually returned for a couple audio dramas, but on screen wise, he only appeared a couple times. This story and its sequel, The Arc of Infinity, which that one actually kicked off a series of stories that led into the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who, so not bad to start with him. The original actor to portray him was an actor by the name of Stephen Thorne. And he is no longer alive. He actually passed away just a few years ago. I gotta say, the guy did a great job playing Omega, but what about his successor? Is he still alive? Nope. Definitely not alive anymore. Nope, of course, that was released in 1983. Mm-hmm. Also, when he appeared in Arc of Infinity, they changed his appearance for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And you can tell, based upon the way the thing looks, it's like, wow. Like, this is... For its anniversary, apparently they did not pull out the... They apparently spent more money bringing back the actors. Now, you know... On this, I have no problem they brought back William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, which, by the way, they're credited basically as the doctors. Now, we had this creature who's after the doctor, this strange blob-like creature who takes Bessie. And Bessie, the car itself does not really play a role in the story at all, just doctors driving it. And so, excuse me. You might be thinking, is there any kind of time travel in this one? There's stuff related to the doctor in this one. Yep. Oh, and here's a little fun fact for you. Guess how many people were actually still alive who are actually in the story? 2 people. Benton and Joe Grant. Yep. John Levine is 80 years old, and Kate Manning, who plays Joe Grant, she is 75. And she's still very much alive. Oh, yeah, definitely. And you're scratching like, really? Just those 2? Like, nobody else? Yeah. And I'm not really sure about the other actors. They're not really known, per se, like the other ones. Oh, if you're curious though, what does Omega look like? That first picture, and on the cover, that's Omega. The guy looks like a giant fish. And those creatures are made from his will. Yes, they explain that story. So he's after the doctor for some reason. It's actually explained that the reason why he's after him because he wants revenge on the Time Lords for supposedly abandoning him. But according to the doctor, he's actually respected and revered as a hero. Yep. And apparently, him awakening up creates a black hole that nearly consumes Gallifrey. Now, this I should point out, this is the first time Gallifrey has been seen in person like this since, I think it was, excuse me, not since War Games, though it's not identified as Gallifrey. It's just the home world of the Time Lords. Yes, the planet's name doesn't make its debut into the first story of the very next season of the show. We're thinking, really? Yes, really. Aside from the debut of Omega, is there like first appearance per se? Well, there's stuff antimatter and matter, so science stuff. Surprisingly, Dr. Tyler himself, the actor may return a couple more times. The character never returned after this. Nope. He just writes up the end of the story. He's like, well, I'm not going to write in the University Journal about this because I actually want to keep my job. Yeah. And apparently, Omega, according to the third Doctor, because I don't think Second Doctor knew about this, maybe he did. Sorry, I forgot about it. He was a solar engineer. Yes, Omega was a solar engineer. And from what I've read, Omega was actually a nickname of his. Yes. What his actual name was, it's not been revealed. Yes, the thing with Time Lords is like they assume a name and they basically call by name for a long period of time. Their true name is kept hidden. For reasons only explained in Doctor Who. Yeah. So, basically, they actually at one point where they're like zapping something to this antimatter universe, and at one point they're bringing like pieces of Doctor's lab the unit building, even TARDIS itself. And this story here is noteworthy also being the first time the Brigadier and Benton ever stepped foot inside the TARDIS. This is not the first time they've seen the TARDIS per se, but it's the first time they ever stepped foot inside of it. Also, this, I believe, may have been the... maybe a couple more times, I think it was. But I think this may have been the first time the TARDIS interior had been seen since War Games. Yes, it of course received an update. That the little circle dome thing, that remained there for pretty much the rest of Classic Who. That was single style walls. The console itself would actually change with every Doctor. Yes, it would. And yeah, and at one point they had a bunch of people in there, including the Game Warden and of course, well, Doc Tyler, of course. And the only time basically you saw William Hartnell's version of the Doctor was on a screen because of his health. So he goes to TARDIS several times. He goes to the Time Lords once, and apparently they don't have like a little pad or whatever. Oh no, we have to basically get readings out on a paper plate. Yeah, it shows how low budgeted basically this show is. Back in the 70s. You would think, well, for a 10th anniversary, that the BBC might throw a little money into this, but nope, they didn't. From what I can tell, they did do it for the 20th anniversary, but not the 10th. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, but they can do the Doctors beat Omega. Yes, they do. Using a force field generator. Yep, they beat him, and because of basically Doctor beat Omega and saving the universe, he's grand uphearted. Yep, they pretty much lift his exile with this very story, which has been going on since Spirit in Space. He gets new dematerialization circuit, and he gets his ability to time travel restored. And he's like, oh yeah, he's gonna travel, but not yet because he had the ability to force return because Phylloxera was destroyed. Yep. But this great story, love it. One of my favorite Doctor Who stories of all time. And I give this one a 10 out of 10. It's pure classic stuff here. Yeah, and the interior of Omega's base is like, wow, his creature's like, good gosh almighty. This is so weird. Oh yeah, and apparently like the only way to set up to move or at least do stuff is like, oh, use your will, you can think into existence. Yep. But yeah, that's not much I'll say about this one. It's really good. I do recommend it for people fans of Doctor Who. There's not really much. There's a little bit more to explore, but not much to explore. Let's say of Doctor himself in this one, or at least for you think for a good 10th anniversary story. Mostly just debut of a new villain, and some minor first. Yep. So yes, that's a particular review. Stay tuned for my next video. It's gonna be Comic Corner, and then the Rise of Should Hero. Okay, next video. Bye.